Thank you. Oh, and that also reset the volume, didn't it? There's this little, I don't know if it's a Windows bug or an OBS bug. But sometimes the mic will just not unmute. This is, what do they call it, recording devices? Sound settings? Testing, testing, testing. Oh, actually, sounds not as bad now. It's not overloading much. And it's like I have a checklist to check that, but it's before I unmute. So something happened in the actual unmuting. So I actually need to, I guess I need to adjust my settings to check that after unmuting the microphone. Because I've had it trigger when going on break before. Anyway, well that's a terrible shame. So anyway, what I'd been saying, TMI. So we stopped getting hosts. The issue being between an object with a field name target login. So it used to return host target, host end target with the parameter to get login names. But the most common way, I suspect, the way this is used, it can be used to get the host, what a channel is currently hosting, or who is hosting a current channel. For me, the most common use case is what channels are currently hosting, in which case you're asking for a channel, you've got the ID, you can go to the user to look up the name. So they essentially dropped the target field from here. But because Elm has strict JSON decoding, and because this is a general purpose library that I've made for me or others to use in any way imaginable, I decoded all the fields, even though I don't care about I don't care about these fields, so I dropped them because people don't care about them. But because I did a full decode, it broke anyway. So I was looking at getting a new test case, maybe actually setting up dropping a field to test thing, but I really should have a new test case anyway. Which means maybe we should use it. Is it TM? Yeah. TMI. So right now, so actually there's updating the sample. So right now they're both TMI. Right now we've got hosts and I've been okay. I've been kind of, I don't know, probably not getting to bed at good times, so I've been kind of down and unmotivated. And at some point I'm going to have to do something to actually make some money. So that might interrupt my streaming schedule as much as you're seeing stream schedules. We will have to see. Okay, so there's all the test stuff, HTML. And I forget which test package this is. So we've got the codes, we've got this. We must just want to make sure there's not errors. Now I which so that might actually take over our server. I'm gonna think about changing test frameworks sometime here. Okay, thank you. Test.pt. Oh. Ah, I went down too many. Yeah, that's generally where I look. CD tests. Oh, right, this is the library. No. Twitch. CD test. This has its, oh. No, yeah, there's JSON. Okay, it currently works, but now we have to update our sample data. Oh, no. No. Doesn't do the triple quote. Oh. Well, okay. And we're doing this, which is going to... yeah, there's no good way to get the error messages out anymore. Well, I guess this is an error. I'm not sure if... so there's the internals. So actually, that is the stringification. Result. Decode string. Oh, error. But all this is doing is comparing true false. Because we have to do that. Yeah, we're debugging it. Okay. So now here's the awkward thing. There are use cases to have a host that does decode these fields. So what I'm thinking we might have to do... I'll still just have one sample. Is we have like... what do you call them? There is... And well, the reason one of the reasons this can change unexpectedly is this is an unofficial API. So there's no formal process around changing it. If they want to change it, they change it. And anybody else, well, it's unofficial. So if you break, too bad. But what do we call this? You can get the people hosting a target channel. And I don't even remember what the other parameter is called. I think if I... Uh, no. Maybe I need Twitch in there. Yeah. Yeah, hidden endpoints. Yeah, host equals. But then it's like host. I guess you could call it like current host. This isn't a host target. This is like a hosting. Like you call it hosting target. It thinks it sounds like it's talking about the target, even though that's the parameter you would use it with. Naming is hard. Hosting target? But I still need to have a plural version of this to get, because, yeah, it's not the individual items, so we're going to have the plural. Or maybe I use something else for the internal one. And then we have who a channel is hosting. Yeah. So they're saying, yeah, maybe I don't deal with this use case right now. Because this is going to be maybes, essentially. So my thinking is to leave these as sort of backwards compatible. Target ID, target login. Wait, wasn't I decoding 6 things? Oh, display name. This must have not been available when he documented that. I was thinking of leaving symbols in here that were aliased to their old values, so it wouldn't be a breaking API change. So we have docs for that. Seems like in some of the other files I had categories. Okay, so headings. So we're going to have 4 target equals ID, full decode, actually, are they? We just updated our string. Host ID, target ID, host login. Oh, so it's still including target ID. I'm debating whether I should have a better name for that and then just have this alias for backwards compatibility. Like host with target name or something. Mm. All right, so well, I mean, these are still going to be here as a little bit of hmm. I was thinking of leaving these symbols available as backwards compatibility. Well, the other case, well, and then I looked at the docs and I was like, oh, there's going to be a bunch of maybes in the other case. And since I'm not using that, I don't necessarily want to support it right now. Well, as long as I leave these symbols as backwards compatibility, it's a minor update. Okay, so we've got sample data, we've got these. So we've got hosting target without target display name or target login. Just some decoder for hosts without target name. hosting target, and no, this is without target. Host for target. And these are and then that loses target login, target display name. With target name. So we've got our test. Ew. Decoder string, decoder string. Oh, right. This went down to a map 4. Still saying string, string, host. Oh, yep. That's in an object with a field named target login. Oh, because my test is still using my old backwards compatibility-ish things. So this really... We want that one. Alright, so that takes care of that reactor. Now, this is why, well, one of the things that makes this non-trivial, especially we're in test, is that in order to fully test this in context, I have to do a bunch of fiddling with stuff. So because this is a published package, we essentially have to remove that, add the source directory to there. Then we go back to, okay, stream credits. Elm reactor. I think we already had a bin monitor here, which we just have to poke it. Oh, and then we have to add the transient dependencies. Elm.json. As direct dependencies. So what is it saying we're missing? Okay, and this is... Oh, it was just in indirect dependencies, okay. Nope, but that was the last one there too, so we still have to adjust. Stream credits. Okay, so that compiled. Oh, and this still has to have all its host. TMI dot hosting target. See, we didn't even care about that field, but the API made us care. So hosts comes from probably something like fetch hosts. Fetch hosts URL, fetch hosts, TMI, not hosting target. And we've got a list again. Okay. Twitch API. Oh, there shouldn't be a README, I don't think. Changelog. Let's see, Elm diff. Minor change. 4.2.0. The TMI, the unofficial TMI hosts API stopped returning target name information for target equals queries. Added new hosting target and hosting target types, or decoding, type and decoder. Type and decoder to correctly parse these responses. Alright, so there's that. I think there is... Oh, yep, 4.2, update Elm JSON, git add, test TMI. Add hosting target. Okay, so that's there. So the only checks so this is, I kind of don't like the Elm publish process. The best way that I've found to test things well, it's going to fail at a couple points here. Or, no, not Elm. Version is not tagged on GitHub. Okay, verified. Yeah, so I think that pushing that up is the last step we can do, because there's like all these checks it does, and I'm trying to find a... Oh, blink headshot. I missed that one. Thank you. And it's like there's no like, are you sure at the end? So I try to figure out like the last thing I can do. That will allow me to kind of check everything up to that point. Publish. Oh, unpermitted changes in local code. So that would be one way to stop it short of there, I guess. All right, so now that that's published, we can go back and to this one. Go to our Elm JSON. We move this back down to here. We have to go into... Do I have multiple windows for this? Stream credits. Go into our Elm stuff. Remove everything Twitch. Some of which might not be from that library, but we want to, well... I might have to remove everything because of dependencies. We shall see. Then we have to reinstall this to get the latest version. Elm install. For 4.2.0. Then we go back to, well, have our compile checking. Yep, it's still got some information in here that is now incorrect. Oh, I didn't remove the source. That's why that was ambiguous. Okay, so that all seems to be working fine. So that updates this, and then I have to remember to go update all of these apps on my actual website later. Reactor there. I usually end up with a separate one for Git stuff. Okay, version update. Very, very simple. Yep. Update host decoding for missing target name fields. Okay, I think I'm actually done with that. Now, the other app offhand that uses this, or that's been running into, is hosting clips. So we are we are clean here. Reactor. No, actually, this would have been in that. Hosting clips. JSON. Oh, this one was still pointing at source too. So I've actually got to remove that. Do I have direct references to this? That's in the output. Apparently not. Install Twitch API. No. So apparently we have some other version updates, and one of the things that's really terrible about this right now is there's no way to know what that thing is. Offhand, it looks like I haven't updated this to HTML 2.0, which is also, it's like the best way to do things is just to remove it and then reinstall it. So this might actually, no. So there's still something else in here. Was it URL? That is locking down that version. No, it's not that. All right, well, so this is where we do, right? Old.json. We install nothing and manually install it from scratch because there's no good way to do upgrades. So we know we're going to need this and anything it needs, and then a bunch of this stuff will actually have to become direct dependencies. So split, give me my old file. So I could have gone down these and directly installed them all. Old.json, oh, this is elm.json. So old.json, okay, we're going to need browser. Which adds a bunch more stuff. Load file. Okay, so that's old. Elm browser, Elm core. Elm HTTP. Or no, that was HTML. We still need that. HTTP. We use JSON directly. We use parser directly, I think. We use, what else up here? We need random, we need SVG. We need time. We need URL. And this would have been, I think, just because we're directly referencing stuff. So we need random and SVG. Okay. Maybe get diff might show this up. So source. Oh, browser and core changed. HTTP and JSON, maybe that was it. That moved down, Elm URL. Additional indirect dependencies, right from HTTP2. Virtual DOM version change, that moved down. All right. So, did that have any... Oh, HTTP send. There's not an HTTP send. Oh, yeah, there was some format changes in HTTP. Okay. Okay. So we're actually probably done with that. Hosting clips. Oh, and I had that from hosts as well. Okay, so actually now we do need to look back at the other app. Because that would have had an example of how I was doing this in HTTP 2. Stream. HTTP.request pretty much takes over that. With... Where's the tagger? Oh, expect JSON taking the tagger. I think there were some other slight changes. So get headers, URL body, expect, timeout. Tracker, expect JSON. Response, clip details. Tracker, nothing. Success. Okay, so well, first of all, Elm is not defined. Maybe I didn't update. Am I even running this? Hosting clips. Oh, the index maybe the port interface changed. I don't think it was that big. I thought this said it compiled. Compiled one module. There's definitely stuff here. Scope Elm. Oh, oh. Okay. You just had to touch the file. Uh-oh. Oh, and I have to actually update the, to do cooking on. Update the hosting things, because they don't... Yeah. By not forcing an API change, I've made people figure it out themselves to a certain extent. Alright, so this was, yes, hosting clips. TMI. No, TMI. Not hosting target. Okay, compiled. Okay, and this is not reacting to URLs.
Game of 1080 snowboarding.
Permission denied.
There we go.
Don't stop. Just keep going. Just keep it going. Oh.
Wait, is that from before? Or is that still having... Okay, I did forward into it.
Pods.
This is funny.
So that should have a host list, but it's
Wow,
still
Like,
So apparently
ends
he
up
found a
showing
way
mine
to-
first
to,
because of timing.
to stall people here. Interesting. What did you do, Hendrik? And I have no soil.
I'm just looking at, like, the resin pile, and it's just, like...
Why? Oh, I took off all my canisters when I was doing that. Can I still reach one? Not with all this organic in my backpack.
There we go, okay.
There we go.
Is everything gonna be invisible for me? 'Cause that would stink.
Okay, I can't actually build into myself. What did you do, Hendrik?
Alright, so yes, there we are going on to other things. And that's pretty much what we needed there. Status, get diff, update dependencies, reformat those requests. Update for hosts decoder change. Alright, so that's that. Did any of these have... I mean, I don't think any of these... Yeah, nothing I can do with that. Yeah, that was buffer delete. It's still hosting clips. Do you have a notes? That seems to have been okay. Oh, and I'm still trying to do the chat stuff. I'm not even watching that right now, so there's nothing there. So I think that's all the Elm projects I've got right now. I can check. Well, actually, it's probably a good time for me to take a break. I'll have a look at my to-do list, see if there's anything else Elm, but I might switch over to trying to poke at my Stepmania stuff some more. See if I can improve any of my song selection things. I'll be, well, I could have left, actually. That's still sort of up. So I'll be back in a few minutes.
Heals me when I destroy the chests, and us continue. That's a boss room. Okay. Do they have capes?
14 strength. That's pretty sweet. But is that what they started with? Because that doesn't get boosted up, right? As far as I know. Okay, so we need to do some more debugging. So the issue is when it comes out here, it wants to go in either direction. So when it comes out, I think we need to make sure. But why would it ever try and go backwards? There's an exit.
Okay, install this in the... Okay, I'm just gonna say... Do that. Rescue Mayors. Carry him no. That's his bed, okay, Rescue Mayors. Carry him to the bed in the...
I'm destroying this chest because I have the ring. It heals me when I destroy the chests, and let us continue. That's a boss room. Okay. Do they have cape?
Todavía no se había despertado.
Ah, ahora sí. Sí.
Vale, yo lo veo bien.
Vale.
Métete en un arco.
A little bit here.
Oh god. At least we can keep this and this powered overnight now.
We have a power shortage.
Well, you know, I wish we could anyways.
It's because you're trying to call the read passwords on the list and not each individual object in there. So the list doesn't have the read passwords method, it's actually the objects inside the list. So if you say, for example, readers index 0.read passwords, I think that would work. So I think that's your issue there. So just do a for loop in that try and say it's because you're trying to call
Done with there, done with there, get that back. I think we're doing all the browser stuff, probably. And I'm going to probably need a terminal for something, but it's going to be in a pretty different place. So we want to switch over. Games. My extended data directory for multiple different versions. I need to re-export the song list too. And didn't I have... Yeah. So I was testing this. I had something to do, a new type of curve, but I need to figure out how to tweak that. I also want to figure out how to use... Well, this might be okay with range selection, but I do want to put the scores in there, or else the score estimation doesn't really help with anything. Oh, it's left it in full screen mode. And then for now, we actually want to shrink this a little bit so it's a little bit easier to manage. Okay, turn off the sample music. Got our initial model. Yeah, you can actually see some of the outliers here. Sometimes I want to look at the outliers and see if there's any pattern to which ones tend to be very, very bad. But just kind of picking some arbitrary scaling values, there seem to be a pretty close correspondence between notes per second and score, but that ratio is probably going to be different per person. But I don't want too many of the really slow songs. And the high end could probably go by score, although the estimates can be pretty far off. Actually, one of the things I'm going to be curious... I wonder if I could graph out estimated versus actual and notes per second versus actual. See if, well... If notes per second was a perfect predictor, I could just put that in the model. Now, I did take it out of the model at one point, because we're essentially summing a bunch of things that are all notes, with potentially a little bit more detail, but putting total notes per second back in, maybe that would be a good predictor. It's actually very, very hard to read from this stuff because these are centered and normalized values. So this is generally a negative weight on a central value. So central for the score would, well, actually probably center of the scores. That's probably like a 70 or something for me. But that does seem to indicate that as chaos increases... Oh yeah, we get lower scores. As meter gets very, very high, we get lower scores. As stream increases, we get lower scores. I guess the way most holds are used, I guess that's a reasonable positive. Yeah, but most things, as there's more of it, the scores get lower. That's pretty reasonable. It's looking like the beats per minute stuff was not very useful. For that matter, significant timing changes is holding it to 0 as well. So that might be some stuff I could remove from the model. I kind of thought, well, faster songs tend to have faster notes. You know, they don't have necessarily as good of a beat. Well, I mean, I guess the plain max BPM is as significant as some other things. Alright, so I do want to look at the model sometime. But I've currently got this notes per second thing going on. Which is fairly good with an arbitrary scaling constant. You could probably build a separate score to notes per second model to make that better. And then you have things like this, where there must be some other factors going on to say that our score is worse than just our notes per second. Or our estimated score, anyway. So what I want to do is I want to include some aspect that we don't get too slow. Too fast should be taken care of by the scoring factors. Actually, that's interesting. I kind of don't want... I really don't necessarily want to limit the low end strictly on score, because that just means I'm doing really good at it, but those tend to be easier songs. So it's almost like I want to limit the high end based on score, and the low end based on not being too slow. Now, being too hard often means being too fast. But a lot of it can depend on exactly how things are laid out, and if they're... well, I guess bursty just means you do bad in that one spot and better in other areas, so it sort of averages out. How do I incorporate that? Make it a notes per second curve with score limits. or pick a notes per second curve based on well, that would require a separate model that was just notes per second to score, which we could probably reuse our mechanics for. It'd be a very, very simple linear model. Is there an easy graph I can pull up? Well, I was working on another bit of code the other day, so I think the simplest thing to do right now, well, we need to make that easier to do. Alright, so for testing purposes, we want to cut that down. What was I adjusting? Had to do with some wiggling. Build flow. Yeah, that's a notes per second. Current flow is build flow. And does that adjust how I draw anything? Nope, not that one. Was it F6? Okay, I need to do something else besides that. Oh, probably the actual picking algorithm. Pick by score, pick by rate. And I appear to have permanently tweaked some stuff, some display stuff for the background range. So picking by score, it seems like we get more divergent notes per second to score. And that's one of those very, very fast ones, but it thinks I'm going to do better. There's a number of very, very fast ones. Alright, so that's the pick. Song list item. We've got flow backdrop, flow range. XY. Oh, flow scale and baseline are probably... Is that 0, 1? Or did I have other... Okay, yes, it's 0, 1. However, I needed those to do the notes per second marks. Right, I only incorporated those into things where I wanted to scale it that way. Notes per second mark. Predicted score, actual score. I mean, those are sort of fine, but I was trying to show my notes per second selection range when I was doing that. NPS mark does need those scaling factors. Flow range, NPS mark. And now we have a completely different pattern. Yeah. Huh. Okay, so that's one where it's a little bit divergent. We've beat that. It'll be interesting to see how this, well, we won't necessarily have the same songs when we get to playing. Yeah, so like this is selecting this. All these ones. Oh, what I wanted to experiment with was, because I did the whole thing yesterday, where I had, they call it dramatic, arc, okay, only had it in there. So build flow. No, that was that. And we wanted to try arc flow for that. Still using this for the limits. Now, this is going to adjust my range. Oop. What does arc flow take differently? Oh, the arc factor, okay. Which I might eventually want to randomize. Bad argument to iPairs. Oh, just comment out everything, sure. Was that 9? Okay, yeah, there's our just marker. So that does have the smoother shape to it. But it starts off very slow. This is probably where I need to do some tweaking of my endpoints. Right, so if we downswing there, it's a 1. But then we have a 7-5 on the cooldown. And a 7-1. Well, I didn't do great at it for a 1. Well, because that's still an 86, just within range. I'm not selecting a much lower range even. Oh, that was an actual score that was better. Oh, well, okay. And these don't get very, very low, because this is just a different kind of curve. So I almost need to increase my high point a little bit here once I get up there. And then that might make the arc thing work out a little bit better. Now, one thing I've been thinking about is that this is sort of based on a distribution curve. So if I sort of picked, instead of high and low, picked a sort of average score, and then used something, well, it would be average score. Well, I'd just scale it appropriately. You could use that to base stuff around there on both ends. I still want a certain lower baseline. Because the ones do get kind of boring. If I select by both score and notes per second from the same information, I'm going to only get songs where those are very, very closely related. And it's hard to do a mixed mode where you say pick a certain notes per second and then wiggle a score. Well, no, I do want some variation in intensity as well. And we sort of want that to be based on... Alright, so on the slow end, I could probably use a straight up notes per second filter. And maybe I could come up with some way to control some spikes in that. To do the occasional one. So that would be unbounded high score. Maybe I limit selection on one end by notes per second, on the other end by estimated score? How would we do our variation, though? Would both limits be varied? And you could pick anything within the limits? That wouldn't well, you'd essentially have random numbers. There would be no structure to it ever. What would that look like? That would look like we are not necessarily wiggling anything. It would just be an arc. Yeah, so very, very simple. But we'd end up with like an intensity arc and a score arc. This was meant to be midline, so it would actually have to be moved up a bit, which we can do somewhat through settings. So we'd have to have that, and then we need settings for our both ends. Or you come up with some arbitrary translation factor to do that. So those settings should be higher for this mode. And I'm still kind of using the manual flow interpretation on that, so it's awkward. Pick by score. So this is defining selection range is just a constant right now. Form pick. Oh, then I'm reusing that for the draw. Okay. Needs that for training? Oh, to execute the model, we need to know all our current weights. So if score is there and score is there. So this would be a different kind of function. Which I don't have any means to graphically display here. This would be from 1.5 to, this would be the lower bound. This was allowing for variation, which we're not wiggling this right now. It was going up to 0.8, so it's actually a little bit less than that. So as a lower bound, we do that. Pick by score. Pick by rate. Oh, this was actually taking an argument. So this is really kind of an upper bound and a lower bound. Pick one. Oh, right, that was that selection range. So the So target is the value there. We don't necessarily have a range. Low is not lower bound. Well, I guess it's really lower and upper. It's score. And upper bound some I. But we're comparing different things. So it's score. So our lower bound is we're above our score and within our NPS. Pick by range. Current flow is our lower bound. NPS bound. And it can be anything in there, which means we have no control. Okay, so yeah, so we need to adjust our factors. And I feel like we've got our NPS bound backwards. Right. Hey, Dancing Mirror Cactus, how's it going? Hopefully I'll wrap up the current experiment actually playing this soon. That's reasonable. I need to adjust my settings for this mode. That's not going to give me structured variation. Coding songs to do crazy effects. I have not. So if I change my range settings, and then I need to add visualization on top of this for what we're doing. So that keeps us from dipping too easy. I need to change my settings so I get some harder ones. And then within that range, we are completely random. But that might give us enough variation. But then I'd have to pass all the other bounding information through to the drawing thingamajiggy. Hmm. Oh, I need to fix that too. That would go a little bit outside my normal routine, but I could try it out. Let's see. It's probably... No, that's not song list item. Oh, I was doing this directly on the flow. Okay. That's probably a left and right arrow. Oh, is that... That's not wiggle left line. Oh, it is left arrow. Really? Oh, this is, maybe it's not the difficulty. Wiggle left, wiggle right. Oh no, that is a song list item thing. Because it has to be on the current. Difficulty arrows. Those are... Right, that's the mode we're in, so those are difficulty arrows. What did I do? To tweak this. Minus plus. I could just look at the changes. No, actually, I wanted the GUI for this. But not you, there's just no direct link. Okay, so this is probably a song list item. No, it was this. In verses. Oh, versus player. Okay. Yeah, so I just have to switch out the theme and look at them, I guess. Alright, so the arrows are back to a reasonable position, although I'm going to have to completely redo my settings if this becomes an actual thing. Alright. Preparing download. With these pages, I always have to be careful that it's not an ad with that sells a download button. That looks like it's the real thing. Ooh, okay, that's a big one apparently. Alright, so this is something I can test out. I'll have to tweak settings as I get down here. Okay, I think that one's finished. Oop. Okay, that is downloading. Alright, so I think I have those. Well, I should get them set up first. So these are going to be individual songs. Oh, still in themes. I guess we'll stick it in here for now. And given that things tend to get lost in the download folder. Oh, so that one was a folder, so extract here. That one is also a folder, so extract here. So options, oh, where is it? Appearance? It's not a submenu, it's just a change. Default, I guess. Let's reset the screen size. So is that an option here? That's normal, but fine. Yeah, so that is... What I don't remember is what are the start buttons for player 2? So key mappings... Alright, keypad enter. And then those Okay, those are the menus, and then regular are the arrows there. Probably don't need a back on player 2, but it's minus if I do. Oh, now is versus separate from just 2-player? That doesn't seem to be any of these. That's... Oh, no, that was player 2 picking it, apparently. Okay, yes, we did get 2 people. We are down in there. Oh, this has to be... There's got to be a thing for this. Right. Or maybe it's a separate F key. Well, we can just reload. Brute force, but it works. Options reload. Okay. I wonder why it's defaulting to that. Okay, so now there's 3 here. Okay, so that put us into 2-player mode. Oh, it's only expert, but it's labeled as 1. Oh, yeah, I'm, well, I don't play keyboard, and the effects are pretty wonky. But it figures more entertaining than just staring at it. Oh, man. Yeah, I never play with modifiers. It's just, I kind of view it as, well, if you've got the song basically memorized, this just gives you a little hint of what's going on to kind of keep you in sync. But I don't memorize songs. I tend to sight read. So I've seen some of the other Moondance people playing around with things like this, but I would just assume that was like a pick random options thing. So are you essentially saying that these are scripted changes for these songs? Because that just confuses the heck out of me. There should be code in the songs folder. Well, yeah, I guess I didn't look at the details. So then our other one... Well, I know I've seen some things that look like scripted background changes in some like Indigo 3. Oh, so that one was verses and this one isn't? Or did I like somehow accidentally deselect the other player? Or are both of them overlapped? Which I guess sort of works. Oh, yep, okay, it is. They were overlapped. I can't even, yeah. Can't even read that. Yeah, so I mean, it's really pretty and cool looking, but I can't dance to it. Also, effects like this are something that is totally not included in my rating algorithm. The song's a challenging anyway, but this, yeah, I did pretty much just have to remove anything that did this. Yeah, I can't even read this. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing here. I can sort of see them there. I might be able to do, well, until I started rotating. Yeah, this is, there are like sub-communities of Stepmania, and I'm nowhere near this one. This is like... And I don't know if there was any way that I could even get information on modifier changes to include in the algorithm. But if there were, you know, like if this was actual recorded data, that would have to be a strong correlation between present and score 0. And it's a fairly long one at that, apparently. I didn't look if there was that time displayed on the picker. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a good way to bring up a score for a chosen song. It'd be interesting to see what the baseline song rated out as without modifiers. Okay. Rated 4, huh? Set read. Oh, Well, for one thing, what is that doing? So there's a Lua folder. Mods, background. So there is a default.lua. There's all the images. There's also an XML. Okay, so that's loading up all the graphics. Make them available. This is also loading up all the graphics, so I'm not sure what the XML is doing. Maybe it's auto-converted somehow? Arcade text is a font. PNG. Oh. Is this what they were converted from, a different thing that used an XML-based format? This looks a lot like the Lua code. Oh, and mods Taro. Modifiers. Mod flip, invert, dizzy. Oh, right, because these can all be turned on individually. Okay, so that is just a big mod support library. Taro Nukes mod system. Oh, so are these like time codes? Okay. Yes, they've got a data format with compressed modifier names. Player mod resets. Oh, turning off all the stuff because you got everything going on. And then we're doing beat counts. So, So do you mean something like an editor that would give you a data format for this kind of stuff? Not ITG. Ah, okay. I've heard that name. I've never looked up what its thing is. Message commands can't start with a number. Yeah, that's some pretty crazy stuff. All right, so trying to... Can do some mods that... Huh. Fork of OpenITG for mod file creators to implement their ideas. Stepmania 3.95. Hmm. Mod file creators. Mod files. So is mod here referring to the arrow effects? Or is that other kinds of mods in the sense that my auto picker is a mod? Of sorts. Modded sim files. So that sounds like OpenIG just set me to do more things. But no real explanation of what those things are. ITG and SM5 runs differently. ITG scripts are based on XML files. And it uses Lewis 5.0, this one uses 5.1. Note skins from ITG won't work in... Both read SM files. So they're just different from the sounds of things. I'm not entirely... I'm sure that there were... Well, I guess the reasoning was that they changed from XML to Lua to get more versatility, and then there are still a bunch of people who had stuff on the old one. But yeah, I guess I'm still not sure what you want out of this. But anyway, that was a little bit of a distraction, so... Oh, okay. Didn't know if you were trying to suggest some future feature. Now I do at some point want to look into see if I can do like a custom speed mod. I've been using the C mod just because some things get so dense I can't read what's going on. But I would sort of like to keep the variable speed because it adds a little bit of flavor to different things. I think it was just one step over. Oh, you know what? Well, the problem is I have no way to identify that these have effects on them. So it might end up selecting these. So I think I'm just going to put them in... So right now the only thing it ignores is that. They're interesting for reference. Oh. Okay. Guess Stepmania still had something open. Oh, did it lose the reference to it? Okay. Well, I've still got the zip files, so I guess that works. Oh, alright, I was opening up the files in here. And in here? That shouldn't do it, that shouldn't do it. Aha! Alright, are we in mod mode? We are in mod mode. Oh, no, that was the difficulty adjust. I want to... No, settings. Turn that back on. Alright, so that's pretty reasonable. I'm going to need to change the numbers here. Oh. And the, my settings are no longer as visible since I moved the labels here. So that's another thing I might want to adjust. I should probably kind of checkpoint my experiments. Oh, okay, so that's something we should have normally. Themes, flow DJ. No. Actually, just get me in this directory. It's actually a, yeah, it's actually a screen. Yeah, so we've got this pick by range selection, lower bound, moving things back. Yeah. Well, I've seen people playing those. I never looked into how they were implemented. Yeah, it's very custom code based right now. So I could see making them being a very tedious process, unless there is something that has like an editor for the XML files or something. I don't know. All right, so we're actually gone from going a little early to a little late. So I need to, well, for my old thing, it's set up where the beginning and end only adjust the low point and the middle only adjust the high point. So once I get up there, I'll turn things up so we get a little bit harder stuff on the high end, and then see how the range works. And if this works, then I might want to only do some way to visualize the selection range. And I've not been keeping up on my water today. But that is it for now. Well, I'm going to be back in a minute to actually play this with the new selection algorithm. Well, the experimental selection algorithm. I am going to drop stream to change stream settings. Let's see. My host list is not working right now. I need to update that. So, thanks to Makings of Hero, Mr. Nicky, Sturmius, Leopard, Catnox, Destructive Phase, Instaspeed Live, Joy YT, NL, Deadly Taco, Kuro Kitsune, Dead Makes Games, Osaret Gaming, Lizzie Live, Thylos, Haska TV, and Doggin Lake for hosting me. I'm normally doing coding type stuff in the mornings, and then like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, going on to some Stepmania afterwards. I will be back in a moment. If you were here for coding, thanks for stopping by. If you want to hang out, cool. I'll be back in a minute or two.